The Suns didn't die because of one bad night. They died four times. They died by 35, 13, then 12. Just to make sure nobody could call it a misunderstanding, they died by nine more at home. This wasn't a dramatic Game 7 collapse, or one missed rebound, or one bad whistle, a cold shooting night, or a cursed possession. This was cleaner. The Phoenix Suns ran into Oklahoma City, and the Thunder didn't just beat them. Oklahoma City showed them the difference between being a nice story and being a real problem. Tonight, the sheet goes over the face. Welcome back to Postmortem, where we don't bury the teams that look bad. We bury them after they've expired. A 3-1 deficit is a diagnosis. A 3-2 deficit is a complication. Game 7's a live animal, but four losses is the end of the argument. The Phoenix Suns are out. Their season's over. The Thunder swept them in 4, and now we get to ask the only question that matters. What killed them? So this is happening in the thick of playoff overload. The NBA board is crowded. The NHL board is crowded. There's half-dead teams everywhere. A lot of them still technically breathing. But Phoenix is different. They're not just a watch-list team anymore. Phoenix isn't just circle back after Game 5 team. Or maybe they found something team. Phoenix gave us a finished case file. And the worst part is, this season had just enough life in it to make the death annoying. They got here. They beat Golden State right before the series started. They earned a little belief. Then OKC opened the door and turned the lights on. Team Phoenix Suns. Date of death, April 27th, 2026. Location, Footprint Center. Immediate cause, Oklahoma City, 131 to 122. Series result, Thunder win 4-0. Manner of death, sweep. And the official ruling, death by exposure. Not as in the weather. Exposure as in Oklahoma City exposed the gap. The Suns, they weren't exposed as hopeless. They're exposed as incomplete. And that's a little bit colder. Game 1 was the alarm bell. The autopsy starts with Game 1, 119 to 84. It's not a playoff loss. That's a siren test. The Suns didn't just fall behind in the series. They immediately lost the right to pretend this is going to be played on comfortable terms. Game 1 told us the Thunder had the speed, the structure, the defense, the pressure, and the confidence to make Phoenix look smaller. So the first symptom wasn't the Suns can't win. The first symptom was the Suns might not be able to make Oklahoma City uncomfortable. If you can't make a great team uncomfortable, you're not playing a series. You're attending one. Phoenix gave some false hope by bringing the score closer every game. And yeah, the scores got closer, but the story never did. Here's where the Suns made it interesting enough to be cruel. Game 2 was a little closer. Game 3 was a little closer. And Game 4, just a little closer. And if you just glance at that, you can lie to yourself and say, they adjusted. They competed. They were right there. But this is where postmortem has to be mean, because closer is not the same as close. A team can lose by less and still not change the story. Phoenix kept getting nearer on the scoreboard, but the series never felt like it really tilted. And that's the difference between resistance and control. The Suns resisted, and the Thunder controlled. Officially, the time of death is the final horn of Game 4. But spiritually, I think the time of death was actually Game 3. That's the game where Phoenix needed the series to become complicated. They were at home, down 2-0. The Thunders weren't at full strength. And the crowd still had a reason to believe. And then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 42 on 15 for 18 shooting, and OKC's bench hammered Phoenix's bench. That's the kind of detail that kills optimism, because if the Thunder can be missing important pieces and still get superstar efficiency plus bench separation, then what exactly was Phoenix's path forward? It wasn't, can they win a game? Sure, anybody can win one game. The question was, can they win 4? And after Game 3, the honest answer was no. Cause of death. Primary cause? No margin. The Suns didn't have enough ways to win. OKC could win with its star depth, their pace, or their defensive pressure, and they used all three. OKC could survive injuries and still look like itself. Phoenix needed too much to go right. And that's a bad way to live in the playoffs. You can't enter a series against a complete team needing perfect shot making, clean execution, defensive toughness, bench survival, and star creation all at once. That's not a plan, that's a parlay. Our secondary causes. 1. Oklahoma City had the better engine. The Thunder looked like a team with a system, and Phoenix looked like a team trying to solve problems in real time. The playoffs don't reward teams for being interesting. They reward repeatable answers. Oklahoma City had repeatable answers. Phoenix, they had stretches. The Suns could score enough to stay visible, but not enough to take command. Game 4, being 131-22 sounds lively, and it was. But giving up 131 points in regulation in an elimination game, it's not a romantic death. It's a defensive autopsy. At some point, you can't just keep saying, well, if they made a few more shots. No, they had to make a few more stops. Second, the bench depth problem became too loud. Game 3 is the clear note here. When the opposing star is torching you and the opposing bench is also beating your bench, there's nowhere to hide. And that's how a series becomes suffocating. You survive one problem, you survive two problems, but you can't survive all of them at once. Third, the Suns were a good story, but OKC was a real contender. And this is the harshest part. Phoenix wasn't embarrassing, and they weren't lazy. They weren't unserious, they weren't an empty team that just wandered into the playoffs by mistake. They had real players and real moments. They had a season worth discussion, but against OKC, they looked like what they were, a team still trying to become something against a team that already knew what it was. So this isn't a postmortem where we decide we're going to burn it all down. That's too easy and probably too stupid. What does survive is the fact that Phoenix got some proof of life after the previous era had already started to rot. There's still a Booker-centered reality here. They're still useful players, and a version of this team that could be more coherent, more balanced, and more honest about what it is. Honestly, this season probably did something useful. It separated the future from the fantasy. The old Suns fantasy was expensive certainty, stars, names, pressure, urgency, and the constant feeling that the window was closing, while everybody argued about who left it open. This version has a different question. Can Phoenix build something durable around Devin Booker instead of just assembling something loud around him? That question survives. So what doesn't survive is the idea that vibes plus a shot making are enough, or pretending the Suns are one easy tweak away from OKC. The Thunder didn't beat Phoenix because of one matchup quirk. They beat Phoenix because they had more answers. When one team has more answers for 4 straight games, that's not bad luck, that's hierarchy. So the official ruling is death by exposure. The Phoenix Suns were exposed by a better, deeper, cleaner, more complete Oklahoma City Thunder team. They weren't exposed as fraudulent. They were exposed as unfinished. That's an important distinction. Fraudulent teams teach you nothing. Unfinished teams hurt more because you can see the outline of something useful buried underneath the dialogue. The Suns weren't nothing. They're just not enough. In the playoffs, not enough isn't a criticism. It's a death certificate. The Suns season ends in 4 games, not with a collapse or a miracle or a tragedy in Game 7. Just 4 games, 4 losses, one very clear message. Phoenix still has a future, but Oklahoma City has the present. Thanks for watching.